Hello everybody, this is Cheri at DJ Sundries, and today we are going to make another tag. The die set that I'm using this time is this Peace, Love, Hope, and Joy die set from Tim Holtz, and I really just wanted to use the joy. So we are going to put this tag together actually fairly quickly by doing a couple of different steps. So the first thing that is already done is all of the die cutting is done. So I have my little pieces here, that the little joy pieces. And what you'll see is this is the base of the tag, and then these are the letters. Now when you stamp or when you press out the original tag, you'll have this little piece similar to this that says joy. Now I actually cut around the edges because I wanted to use this as a template for when I'm putting my pieces back together. So we actually, my husband helped me with this one, and he cut the letters, the J and the O and the Y, out of black craft cardstock, the metallic cardstock from Tim Holtz, and then went back and cut all of the little centers out of the blue from that same metallic cardstock. And I just really like the way that looks. Now this joy is just a piece of scrap that I had him cut so that I could use it to go over the top, just like that. Now I put these in the Xyron so that they're already sticky. And now I am just going to use my little template to fill in the blanks. Now I like to start in the middle just because it keeps it from shifting quite so much. So I've put my O in there. Now we're going to put our J. You just do still have to hang on to it a bit because it will shift a little bit, and you don't want your die pieces all crooked, which is the reason for using the template anyway, because it helps keep them nice and straight for you. So there we have joy. Now be careful when you're peeling up your template. And I believe, because I was making quite a lot of these tags, I think I probably went through a couple of templates, because as you can see, this is pretty thin cardstock, and just all of the placing and picking up and putting down had us go, I mean, it wore them out. So I went through 2 or 3 of those little templates. So there we have the word joy. Now this gold is also metallic gold from Tim Holtz. It's got the craft on the back. I'm not sure if these are still available. You may be able to find them some places, but they may have been retired. I'm just not sure. So now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to fit my star in the middle. I have to tell you that I seriously considered not doing the O and just using the star for an O, but I decided to go ahead and use it. The other thing that you have to be kind of careful of is making sure that you cut your pieces all facing the same way. There were some of the pieces that got cut backwards, meaning face down on the pretty side, and so then had to go back and be recut, because even though for the J and the Y it obviously mattered, you might not think that it would matter for the O, but it only matters if you're going to fit something back in the middle. And so be careful about that. So there is our main embellishment for our tag. So I have this tag that I've pre-prepped with putting to and from on the back, and I was going to put it here, and I thought, man, that's kind of plain. So I wanted to spice it up a little bit, and that's when I remembered, and seeing people pull out some of their older items again, I remembered I have perfect pearls that I haven't used in a very long time. So I pulled out my perfect pearls, and we are going to use perfect pearls to kind of give a little background image to our stamp. So I have pulled this Tim Holtz. This is from one of the watercolor collections. I've pulled this out and I have it all pre-set up on my tag. I'm going to set my tag at 2 inches. And for this, I'm not going to worry about using the magnets to magnet it down. Now I am going to ink up my image really well using Versamark ink, and I am just going to ink that right up like that, and then I am going to press that down And I have that positioned just how I know I want it in my stamp positioner with the tag, so that when I pull it up, and you can probably barely see it, but you have kind of that watermarked color there. So now we're going to kind of watch the magic happen. I have this piece of scratch paper to collect my extra mess, and I have this Perfect Pearls in, well, it's called Blue Patina. It's kind of a blue-green color when it's all done. And this is a pretty simple process. You dip in your brush, and when you buy a set of Perfect Pearls, I believe that they often come with a brush. Sometimes they come with a perfect medium as well, which I do have, but I just pull my Versamark out because I just use my Versamark all the time. But you just simply dip into the powder, and then you just kind of rub all over, making sure that your contact points, and I'm going with kind of a gentle hand, but I want to make sure that all of my Versamark has pearls on it. And then I'll just tap it away like so, and then kind of move outside of the pile there, and then I'm going to work it and start working off all of the excess that's around there. And what you will see is that hint of that blue-green color of that holly branch that I stamped down coming through just on the image and not throughout the whole tag. You want to do some fairly aggressive brushing to get that extra off, because you don't want it to be on your tag permanently. Now, there is something about Perfect Pearls that I just love. I actually use the Perfect Pearls that I use the most is I have a spray bottle sitting on my desk that is just water with the pearl color of the Perfect Pearls mixed in. So sometimes I will give my projects a spritz with that, and it just gives that little bit of sparkle. But the beauty of Perfect Pearls is all that it takes to set Perfect Pearls. And I see I have a little miss here, and it looks like we're not going to capture that whole tip, but that's okay for this. It'll be covered up anyway. But the beauty of Perfect Pearls is all you need to set it with is water. So now, just like with embossing powder, I'm going to tap this back into my can. Now, unlike embossing powder, you don't, with static and everything, some of it does stay on the paper. That's why my paper is stained, like what you see here. And if you touched it, you would realize it's not so much that it's stained, but there's actually still grit there. But this, by the time you've wiped everything away, this goes a really long ways. So now I have this, and to kind of set it on there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spray bottle, and I'm going to give it a couple of spritzes of water, and then I'm just going to set it aside to dry. Now, you could, of course, use your dryer to dry it, but I'm just setting it aside to dry. And because I have pre-prepped, I have one here already dried and ready to go. Now, I will tell you also that because this is not watercolor paper, it did cause this craft tag paper to curl up a little bit. So to straighten it out after I discovered that they were all curled, I ran them through a carrier sheet through my laminator just to kind of flatten them out. And that took most of the curve out, enough to that I was fine with it. So now we're ready to attach our joy. And I just like that little subtle hint. I mean, on camera, it's not quite as subtle, because you're like, well, it's not so subtle. I can see it really well. And you can see it well, but it doesn't overtake the joy when I stamp or when I press the joy into it. It just accents it. It makes it better. It gives us that background piece that I did not get straight. So I'm going to very carefully peel that up. I do this way too often with not getting my stuff straight. But it's, as long as you peel it up right away, I usually am fine in these particular instances. So there we have our tag. Now, to finish it off, I have some of my Frosted Juniper ribbon, and this is just seam binding that I took the Frosted Juniper mica spray with, and I just have a piece of that, and we're just going to go through and tie a small little bow. So I pulled into my Perfect Pearls to see exactly what I had, and I have a lot of metallic type covers. Well, I mean, all of the Perfect Pearls are metallic to some degree, but I have a lot of more what you would think of your traditional silvers and golds and those kind of things. So I didn't have a lot of colors in my stash, and I didn't go out and buy more. But my original thought is that I would like to have gold on the gold, and then it would be even more subtle. So I tried that with the gold on the gold, and you see this here. And actually the camera is picking it up really well because you have the light right above it. In real life, I really thought that it was too subtle. I felt like it was too... You almost couldn't see it to the naked eye if it wasn't directly under a light. So that's why I decided to go with this other color. So there we have our tag. Now, what about mass producing? Well, I have to say, it's not a hard tag. It's definitely one that you can mass produce, but it's not one that you're going to be able to mass produce in a hurry. There are several steps. So it just depends on the time that you have and if you're able to compartmental craft. You know, with these, we started with my husband cutting all the shapes, and then I started assembling the joys. And that took probably the better part for me, just the assembly, because I was doing quite a lot of them. It probably took the better part of a couple hours just to assemble the tags. And then it probably, I was doing 50 of these. So it probably took another couple hours maybe to do the perfect pearls on all of them. So this is not going to be a quick repeat, but it is one that you can reproduce by doing, you know, departmental craft or compartmentalized crafting. You can definitely reproduce it, and I think it's really pretty. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.